All right, welcome everybody to the emergency live stream.
Welcome everybody
to the emergency live stream.
Welcome everybody to the emergency live stream.
Okay, there we go. Hang on. We got to get this fixed. There we go. Okay. A little bit of a feedback problem. Okay. Let me get the chart pulled up on Nova Mentis. Just wanted you to check out this book because we're going to be discussing the whole thesis of Nova Mentis being a next super stock, being a Wall Street Reporter next super stock. It's based on the science. You got to check out this book, TenBagger Blueprint, which explains to you the entire system, 10-part system, how to analyze these stocks. And today we're going to look at the charts. So just 1 second. Let me pull this up. All right, here we go. Let me get this. Let me get the chart going here. Share screen. Okay, chart is up. Let me pull up this. Okay. There we go. Okay. Amazing action in Nova Mentis today. Look, this stock is already a double. That's right. This stock has doubled in just the last 7 days. But here's the thing. I believe we're just at the absolute beginning of this. Take a look at this chart. It'll give you some perspective on where we are. If you zoom in, you can see this is the OTC chart, by the way. So today is the highest volume day. I think we're going to close out highest volume day ever on the U.S. market. You can see the U.S. volume is building. And the stock just finally is breaking out of the 50-day moving average. So this is very bullish. We're going to have massive base. Again, this is an incredible chart. And you can see where the chart has been. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to $3, but, I tend to believe that stocks like to return to their previous highs. It's just one of my pet theories, and it seems to constantly come true. I mean, it just over and over again. So let's talk about what's going on with Nova Mentis. NOVA is the symbol in Canada, of course. Let me just get Dwight. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let's kind of get into a little bit of the background. So for any of you guys that may be new to the program or you haven't watched in a while, Nova Mentis, this is the second biotech stock, that I've chosen to get involved in the last couple of years. The first one we had, or I should say the last one I had, which was a little while back, was Cytodyne. That stock went up 2,000%. It was a TenBagger stock I introduced at 50 cents. It went to $10.01 as a Wall Street Reporter next super stock. Nova has a lot of common things with Cytodyne. It's quite incredible. Yeah. So by the way, when we first introduced Nova, a lot of people didn't believe it. They thought, it's a scam. It's this and that. Here's the thing with these biotech stocks. A lot of people don't understand the science. And also the reality with science, with clinical trials, when you're getting into all this, is, you never know what's going to happen. It's so things which people think, it's nonsense. It turns out to be real. It's always like, nobody believed the light bulb can be invented. Sure enough, Edison invented the light bulb. Now, it did take him 10,000 attempts, but he did learn, 9,999 ways not how to do the light bulb. So he finally figured it out. So the thing is, there's a lot of incredible surprises. I always like to say the charts don't lie. So forget about anything I tell you about the fundamentals, all that stuff. Just ignore it because a lot of it is my opinion, facts, whatever. Charts don't lie. The charts tell you the truth in advance. And we're seeing an incredible breakout in the stock. Let me just pull up the Canadian. So this is actually where the U.S. for the first time has overtaken the Canadians in volume, which is, we know that is a positive indicator. I know a lot of you guys like those what do you call it, charts, the Japanese candlesticks. I'm going to make it easy for you. Let me get a candle. Okay, so we get a big green candle. Look at these massive big green candles. Look at this volume. It's been building, and it's breaking out. Again, let's go through the technicals. The MACD, very bullish. We get a crossover. You got the 50-day breakout with a follow through. 5 days of follow through. Very bullish. So those are, by the way, those are absolute objective. That's pure science. Now, subjectively, my opinion is, I think we've got a big double bottom. We've got a big, beautiful double bottom here from going back, almost 4 years here, right? So when this thing moves, we could potentially see, I don't want to say the past highs exceeding. I don't want to sound over promotional. I don't want to make any price targets or price projections, but anytime we introduce these stocks, my goal is my objective is I'm looking for things which have that 10x upside. By the way, I'm personally invested in the stock. I bought into the private placement. I got a lot of shares, right? I'm not in this for a double. I'm in this to make at least a TenBagger, because again, biotech stocks are higher risk, especially penny stocks are higher risk. Anytime you get into these penny stocks, you got to look for these, these setups where you have a 10 to 1, 20 to 1 payout. Otherwise, to just double your money, it doesn't make any sense, because you got to have the upside to be commensurate with the risk that you're taking, and the risk is huge. Again, we're in the business of public venture capital. I talk about this in my book. We're in the business of public venture capital when we're buying these stocks, and that means that you got to be prepared to have a bunch of losers, right? We've gotten lucky before. We had like I think we had 7 stocks back to back, went up like 5x to 50x. I mean, an incredible streak, right? And then we had 5 stocks that went down, 70% or whatever, right? But the reality is this: anytime you get involved in these penny stocks, generally the way my goal is to have at least 1 out of 10 become a TenBagger plus that covers all your portfolio. 1 or 2 will be doubles or triples, or more, and then the rest will either do nothing or some will go to 0. So even if 5 of them go to 0, if you have one that's a TenBagger, a couple of doubles or triples, or maybe a 5x, you're going to be way ahead. You're going to have high double digit returns, and if you can keep compounding it, you'll do phenomenal. And if you get really lucky, or if you're insane, you might want to parlay a couple of these TenBaggers, and you parlay a couple of these TenBaggers in a row, and you can turn like $2,000 into like $1 million, which is what who's that guy in Canada, the kid, the Kevin guy in Vancouver. He took $2,000, turned it into about $1 million with a couple of parlays like this. It's just the math. So I just did a live stream with Dr. Marvin. Not a live stream, excuse me. I did a video with him earlier today. I'm going to be putting it up online. I got to edit a couple things out because I interrupt a lot, and there's a couple of things that this is. But we got some very interesting information. I think there's a lot of exciting things going on there. So let me kind of give you the technical picture I showed you, but I kind of want to go through the perspective of how I'm analyzing Nova Mentis with the TenBagger blueprint. So I'm going to cover a couple of points which are inside the book. One is there's a concept called the TenBagger window, right? So again, any of these stocks, just take a look at Nova, right? Any of these stocks which have these massive run-ups, if you notice, most of the time, the big gain happens in a very short window of time. A lot of times they're doing nothing. Again, look at this chart. It's been doing nothing. And then look, it had a massive run-up where in a matter of a couple of weeks, the stock went up over 10x, right? that's what I call the TenBagger window. When companies, and how does that happen? How do you have these massive parabolic gains? It's very simple. When you have a company with high potential, you got massive catalysts, it's at the inflection point. And how do you know it's at the inflection point? Because the news flow proves it out. It's not the company telling you they're at the inflection point. It's not the CEO, with a PowerPoint. It's the news flow. The news flow, that's the pulse. That's the pulse. It tells you what's going on. And if you look at what's going on with Nova, they got some big milestones which could drive the stock. Number one is they finally got the psilocybin capsules. They made them. They got the contract with the company to do the trials, and they finally submitted the paperwork to Health Canada, the application to launch the phase 2A clinical trial. That was done about 2 weeks ago. Health Canada has 30 days to reply. Now, look, generally they do come back with comments. It's like, they have a 30-day window. I believe in Canada, it's like if you don't hear from them, that means that's the go-ahead. But basically, I'm expecting this probably, maybe even now they're going back and forth. I have no idea because it's like insider information. They usually go back and forth, like the FDA goes back and forth a couple of times with comments. They may want to say, hey, we want the trial done this way. We want this is the endpoint, whatever it is. So, but we're expecting it. It could be 2 weeks from now if everything goes perfect. If it doesn't go perfect, it might be in 4 weeks, whatever it is. But here's the takeaway. This company has actually done everything that they said they would do. It's taken a little bit longer, but you could, again, watch the video I had with Marvin. He explains why, they were a little bit delayed because they wanted to get it done absolutely right. Now, by the way, if you want to get the book, go to Amazon, click the link in the video description below in the video description, get the book on Amazon, TenBagger Blueprint. Right now, I got the what do you call it? The electronic book, the ebook. We're going to have the paperback ready for buying in a couple of days. So the paperback is going to be ready. I don't use the Kindle. I don't really, it's not for me, but the Kindle thing is up there. So if you have a Kindle, you can pre-order. The paperback edition is going to be ready. It's $15. No, it's actually less, $14.95 to get the book. And we got a special price in Canada. I think it's like $18. So we made it very, very reasonable. And by the way, look at it this way. You're investing $15. If you come out with just one good idea, you can make millions of dollars. Not a joke, millions of dollars. I mean, this book can literally change your life. I'm not trying to sell you this book, but whatever. I'm not here to make money with the book. This is not, the reason I'm doing this book is just because I talk about a lot of different concepts and I want people to understand the system. There's a system behind all these things I talk about. It's not me picking things out of the air. So you got the TenBagger window. The other thing we talk about in the book, the asymmetric setup, why it's so important. What is an asymmetric setup? So an asymmetric setup is when you have a stock where the downside is limited. It might be only a couple pennies. The upside could be a couple dollars. So you could have 100 to 1. By the way, Warren Buffett, that's his whole philosophy. He likes things where the downside is really limited, although people think, oh, it's whatever. But the upside is total blue sky. Here we have with Nova Mentis, the downside is limited. What's the downside? I mean, the stock can go to what? It can go to 2 cents. You're risking a couple pennies. The upside could be $1 plus. So literally, you could have $1 upside. It sounds crazy, but it's not, because $1 would mean about 100 million valuation based on the comps in the biotech space. Companies, if they again, they're not going to go to $1 because we're saying it. So the way they would go to $1 is if they deliver good data in their phase 2A clinical trial, if they hit their endpoints, right? And at that point, they would be a very attractive buyout candidate for a pharma company or another company that's in the space. By the way, look, here's the thing: in the psychedelic space, I think this company is probably the furthest ahead of any of these other companies. How many of these guys are going into phase 2A trial for psilocybin for autism, for Fragile X syndrome, right? Huge market opportunity. By the way, so the genius of these guys, I mean, this guy really knows what he's doing. You got to watch the interview with Marvin. I mean, there's a reason why he's involved, right? This guy's taken drugs to, into commercialization. He's gone through the FDA process. And he's a very smart program that they're focused on this Fragile X. That's going to give them kind of an easy path, or so we expect, or we hope, to get to that commercialized. And again, it's an orphan drug. So they have orphan drug designation from the FDA. Once they got Fragile X on the market, then they can do label expansion. Then it can get off-label prescriptions. Again, because it's a microdose, psilocybin microdose. We're not expecting any toxicity, right? It's a microdose, psilocybin. It's a natural product. So we're going to find out in this clinical trial, but it could be a very attractive candidate for one of these companies that's in the psilocybin space now. And maybe, they've raised a couple $100 million. And, for them, it would actually make a lot of sense to buy a company like Nova, because let's say they pay $100 million, right? Let's say they pay $1 a share, $100 mil. For this company. Now, all of a sudden, they actually have a psilocybin program on their, in their company that's already, in advanced clinical trials. Maybe it's already has. They can get approval pretty quickly, right? They can get accelerated approval. It's possible, right? Which has also potential for other neurological disorders, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that, memory. I mean, it's really blue sky potential. So it would be a very attractive candidate for any pharma company that wants to have a psilocybin program. Why does it make sense? Because they pay $100 million, and all of a sudden that could add maybe $500 million to their valuation, because now they have an exciting clinical program in their whole story, right? That's the value of this. So it would actually increase their shareholder value. That's right. If you're the CEO of a company watching this, you're running a biotech company, you're running another psychedelics company, I'm telling you right now, once these guys get good data in phase 2, this would be a very accretive acquisition for you. You pay $1 a share, the value of your company might increase $500 million. That's right. You pay 100, you'll get 500 million back. Not advice, by the way. Okay. Not investment advice. So the asymmetric setup, you're paying a couple pennies, you might have $1 upside. That's a 20 to 1 upside. So again, I'm not looking for a double. If you're looking for a double, you're going to lose money. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to buy a double because the risk is so high. You got to have the asymmetric 20 to 1, 100 to 1. Now, the other thing we talk about, the charts. Again, I went through the chart picture. The chart picture is amazing. In my book, TenBagger Blueprint, I tell you very simply how to analyze a chart in 60 seconds or less. I mean, this book can take anybody. It's very easy reading, very fast read, everything you need to know. Now, let's see how we're doing with Nova Mentis. Let's look at this amazing chart. 7 cents, 7 cents. Look at this volume. Wow. In Canada, how much volume do we have in Canada? 500,000 plus, right? Let me see how we do in the US. Oh, but shit, this is delayed. That sucks. Wow. Look at this. 5.5 cents. I think we might close at 6 cents today. 1,300,000. Millionaire volume. Look at this. This is the biggest volume. This is the biggest volume ever. Today is the biggest volume. Why is this so important? Read the book. Volume precedes price. That's Trader 101. Volume precedes price. Anytime you got big volume and stock is moving up, it means it's going to continue. By the way, one other thing I talk about, which is very interesting. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, oh, the stock has already doubled in a week. Oh, is it too late to get on board? That's the way the average dummy thinks. By the way, I don't blame you for thinking that way. But here's the reality. The reality is the time really to get into stocks is not, it wasn't last week when it was whatever, when it was 3 cents. That was not the time to buy, actually, because the risk is higher. The smart money The smart money buys on breakouts. This is the time when the smart money is now starting to take a look at the stock. That's why you're seeing the volume come in, because now, look, time is money. These guys don't want to waste time. If a stock is going flatline, like we saw Nova Mentis has been doing for the last long time, right? It's dead money. Nobody wants dead money. When a stock breaks out of the moving average, when the volume takes off, everybody wakes up, because that means, okay, the thing is on the move. We're gonna, if we can get in at 6 cents, we'll get at, maybe even if we pay 10 cents or even 15 cents, right? It doesn't matter. Even if you buy the stock at 20 cents, right? Even if somebody gets into the stock at 20 cents, what difference does it make if it goes to $1, right? Because the big money is made on the breakout. It's not made buying at the bottom. I know, look, I'm really bad at doing that myself, because I'm very risk averse. I like to buy things when they're dead flat. I use the kind of the cigar butt mentality, which we have here. I want to have a built-in profit. So I want to have the least risk possible. So I'm willing to take that chance. And sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't work, because, you're sitting with a stock forever, right? It's much smarter to buy a stock that's breaking out, that has momentum. That's the whole philosophy of, the Investor's Business Daily, the Can Slim, the whole momentum trading. I talk about it in the book also, TenBagger Blueprint. Nick Darvis, it's fascinating. This guy, Nicholas Darvis, he wrote a book called, what was the name of his book? I forgot that. It's in my book, right? But basically, this guy, Nick Darvis, was a very famous speculator, day trader, whatever you want to call it, in the 60s. And he found out something fascinating. It was fascinating. What he discovered was stocks that hit new 52-week highs, the best time to buy, he found out the best time to buy a stock is when it hits a new 52-week high. Why is that? Because that means it's just breaking out and it's the beginning of a new uptrend a lot of times. That was his whole system. He would buy stocks hitting new 52-week highs. Now, the good news for Nova is it's not at the 52-week high yet. It's not at the 52-week high yet. Again, I'm not making any investment advice, not making any representations or whatever. A 52-week high would mean that the stock would have to exceed 10 cents. Let's see what happens. We're not even at 6 cents yet. Big volume. Look at this massive volume today. Amazing. But anyway, look, the bottom line is this. The stock is just breaking out. We're just breaking out a 50-day moving average. We got the MACD. Let's take a look actually at the weekly. Hello. We just broke out of the 50-week moving average. That's a major milestone. 50-week moving average broken out just today. That's right. Today, we are now officially above. Now, very important. We got to see that the week closes, in this thing. But yeah, this is usually good. Last time, look, it's usually a good omen. We had a fake out early in the year. It didn't work. Last year, 2 years ago, I should say, look, last time it broke out, it went from, 10 to, basically tripled, right? So you have a very good chance of the stock look at before. It went from the 50, massive move. Again, watch that 50-week moving average, because the last time it did it, the last couple of times, we had massive moves. This is not a joke. When you have a stock going above the 50, you got to pay attention. The 50-week, this is not the daily, it's the weekly, the big one, big trend. The amazing thing, again, read my book, TenBagger Blueprint. I talk about trends. All the smart money in Wall Street, they're trend followers. Don't believe any of this shit they tell you about, oh yeah, we got research analysts. That's just eyewash, as they call it. It's just these guys are basically trading off the moving average. When a stock starts a new uptrend, they get on board that trend, they ride that trend, and they get off when it closes below the moving average. So bottom line is, this thing is very, very bullish. Let's talk about a couple of other concepts in the book. Built-in profit. That's right, a built-in profit. You know what that is? I talk about it in the book, TenBagger Blueprint. Buy the book on Amazon. The paperback is coming out. Now, what is a built-in profit? we like our next super stocks. One of the things I look for is to have a built-in profit, because price is everything. Valuation, you got to get into these things when the valuation is cheap. You got to pick them up like a cigar butt off the ground. It's like the Warren Buffett methodology. I talk about it in detail in the book. But in a nutshell, what does it mean? It means you're buying a stock. Again, you got to look at it as Warren Buffett, as a private business owner. If you would buy Nova Mentis today, you're paying, I don't know, $8 million, right? Let's say you would buy the whole company, lock, stock, and barrel. Let's call it $10 million, $10 million, okay? You buy it for $10 million, right? The thing is, the comps, what these things are going for, typical companies with phase 2A, psilocybin for sure, psychedelics, something that's hot, should go for us. Again, clinical program. I'm not talking about bullshit, these bullshit Canadian companies, these scam Vancouver companies. We're not talking about these scam Vancouver companies. I'm talking about a legitimate company that has a program that's going to phase 2A, phase 2 clinical trials, that has orphan drug designation from the FDA for a psilocybin-based therapeutic for autism. What's that worth? Typically that type of clinical program could be worth 50 million bucks. So basically, you're buying this stock, you got a built-in profit, because really you're paying 10 million and it's worth 50 million. Okay. By the way, we got a margin of error. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say I'm dead wrong. Maybe it's only worth 20 million or 30 million. That still gives you a double or triple from here even, right? But if they get some good data, they meet their endpoints in the clinical trial, you could have a dollar number on that stock. That's right. We could see $1. By the way, I know it sounds crazy. I know you guys have seen it. Oh, this is bullshit. This guy he's a paid promoter. He's a low life promoter. Yeah, I'm a low life stock promoter with a great book, TenBagger Blueprint. Check it out. But do you guys remember CBDT? Remember that stock? Remember CBDT? I introduced that stock to you 2 years ago, literally 2 years ago this time. It's 2-year anniversary. 2-year anniversary was a nickel. Everybody thought, it's a scam, it's this, it's that, whatever. By the way, that CBDT was an imperfect situation. The stock was a nickel. Where did it go? CBDT went to $2.50. $2.50. Cytodine, I gave it to you at 50 cents. It went to $10.01. So you had a 20 bagger, you had a 50 bagger. Imagine. By the way, I got stuff. People made fortunes. Imagine if you put 10 grand into a CBDT at a nickel, that would have become worth $500,000 in 4 months. That's pretty good, right? By the way, CBDT was not a perfect stock. It had not even a fraction of what these guys have. But it did have, the valuation was correct. At that time, it was a cheap valuation based on what they had. It was an asymmetric setup. The theme was hot. There's a lot, it had things going for it, which people didn't recognize. I recognized it, and you too would recognize it if you read the TenBagger Blueprint, which shows you how to analyze these stocks. If you had my book 2 years ago, you could have looked at CBDT and said, oh, that's right, this hits all 10 things on the TenBagger Blueprint. Or not 10, probably would have had 8 out of the 10. Anyway, bottom line is this, Nova Mentis, it's got all the right stuff going for it. It reminds me exactly of CBDT. And by the way, it's not a perfect setup. We don't have perfect information. There's always, these things have, what do they call it? It has hair on it. It's got a lot of things. It's got little quirks. These stocks are not perfect. They're probably going to need to raise capital at some point. Now, again, they've been very, very frugal. They've been running a very tight ship. So I'm assuming that probably, there's warrants that they're probably going to wait for the warrants to be exercised. There's warrants at like 7.5 cents. So there's not going to be any raise. I don't believe there's going to be any raise. They're probably waiting for the warrants to get exercised. Especially once they go into the clinical trials. I think the stock is going to have a run, so that'll fund them. So this thing is, it's going to be, I think this thing could be an epic winner. I think this could be an epic winner here. Let me refresh here. Wow, look at this chart. Amazing. 1,000,003. I wonder, is it possible? Could we get to 2 million shares of U.S. volume? Nah, that's asking. I think 2 million shares is asking a little bit too much. But yeah, 7 cents. Look at this. We're closing out near the high. We're 800,000 shares Canadian volume. That's not bad. That's not bad. Look, volume precedes price. This thing is looking very good here. What else can I talk about from my book? I'm just looking at my notes here. So we got the asymmetric setup. Again, you're paying, a nickel here, US. The stock could potentially be $1 stock based on comps if they get good data. Again, not advice. I'm not price representing. I'm telling you comps, okay? I'm telling you comps in the biotech space, psilocybin space for phase 2, phase 2A, orphan drug designation. Again, it's not exactly apples to apples. It might be apples to like tangerines, but it's not, apples to potatoes. Okay, so we're in the fruits. They're not completely the same, but it gives you enough information. You got the built-in profit again based on the comps. The chart is massively bullish. The chart again. Forget about anything I tell you. All this is bullshit. If you want to look at the chart, it tells you this thing is a massive buy right here. Look at this. Let me see here. Indicators. Let me look at the moving average. Let me get the 200. Oh, look at this. We broke out of the 200-day moving average also. Oh my God, the 200. I haven't looked at that one in a while. This is big. This is bigly. Look at this. Okay, so on the weekly, it's at 18 cents. But on the daily, look at this. We just broke out, and this is a high conviction breakout. Look at this fat green candle. We are so far above that. That's a massive breakout. That's high conviction. That's high market conviction. Breaking out above that 50-day moving average, 200-day moving average. Excuse me, forget about the 50. That's the 200. That's 200. That's a milestone. We broke above the 200-day moving average. That is, let me see the last time it happened. What happened to stock? Okay, so here we had some fake outs. There was a couple of fake outs over here, but over here it went from 16 to 32, so it was a double. Back here it went from 20, 30 cents to $4. I mean, I know it's kind of a weird chart. You could kind of ignore it, but you know what? These, for whatever reason, it doesn't make any sense, but these stocks do like to go back to their old highs. Again, I'm not saying it's going to go to $4. I'd be a seller at $1, quite frankly, because that would be a good run. Based on phase 2, I think $1 is a good number for this thing. So chart's amazing. The catalysts to look out for, again, the multiple catalysts. You got the phase 2A clinical trial. You got a bunch of things happening. That's something we're waiting for coming up. And what else do we have? I think that's enough. I think I've given you enough stuff, right? The next time when we do a live stream, I'll talk about other things. But again, check out the book. Get the book, TenBagger Blueprint. The paperback is going to be out in a couple of days. How are we closing today? Nova Mentis, 7.5 cents. And what's the volume? What's the volume here? How do I get the volume? Shit, why is my volume not coming up? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, big volume, US volume, record volume. That is all I know. How do I can I see the US volume? Again, this is delayed. So 1,000,003, maybe more. Yeah. Again, US also, we broke above that 200-day moving average. And if you notice, the last 5 days, the volumes have gone higher and higher and higher. Look at this. Look. Look, look. It's like a stair. It's sequentially doubling, almost. Yeah, it's a sequentially doubling in volume. This is a major milestone. It's a major milestone. Look, I think our momentum stocks are making a comeback, and you really should, guys. I believe. Look, I think the market, the overall markets are still going to be going down. I don't think this is the bottom. I think we're probably going to hit the bottom in February. However, biotech stocks, a lot of these stocks, they're not, they're not really that related to the overall market, because again, what matters is if they have the fundamentals, if they deliver the goods, they get the phase 2 data, stock is worth $1. Now, in a good market, it would be a $2 stock, right? Look. If Nova was putting out the news that they're putting out now, if they were doing this 18 months ago, the phase 2 thing, the stock would be $1. No question at all, it would be $1 stock. We're in a different market. We're in a bear market. So, here they got to do a lot more stuff. And, but again, I think we're still the overall market is relatively bearish. The biotech stocks are still, there's a lot of headwinds, but it's the fundamentals of the company that are going to be driving this. And again, what the market is telling you, what the chart is telling you is this thing it's got the beast mode volume here. It's a massive thing here. So I think that wraps it up for me. I'll see you in our next live stream. Again, check out the book TenBagger Blueprint on Amazon. The paperback is going to be out in a couple of days. Buy yourself a copy. Buy a couple hundred copies. I mean, look, why don't you buy like 100 copies and give them out to the homeless people? If you live in a place like LA, Toronto, whatever it is, Vancouver, in New York, there's homeless people all over the streets, right? If you give them $1, it's better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish, right? If you give a guy 50 cents, whatever it is, they're going to spend it on drugs or whatever it is. You give them the book. You give the guy a TenBagger Blueprint. It'll open their mind to the possibilities. They'll become a productive citizen. They'll want to become, penny stock billionaires, right? That's right. We can turn these homeless people into penny stock billionaires. Look, all they got to, especially if they live in San Francisco, a place like California gives homeless people, I think they give them a couple of grand a month just to hang out. Couple of grand a month. So imagine this. Imagine you're a homeless guy. By the way, I see these homeless guys. They're in a tent and they got a $1,000 iPhone. They're streaming. They're watching videos all day. I bet there's a homeless guy right now watching me on his on the YouTube on his $1,000 iPhone somewhere, sitting in Marina Del Rey, my old neighborhood, right? Guy sitting on Washington Street, in his tent. He's watching the program and he gets inspired. He says, you know what? I'm going to take that $1,000 that Gavin Newsom is giving me to be homeless. I'm going to take that $1,000. I'm going to put it into penny stocks like Nova Mentis. Imagine if Nova Mentis goes from 10 cents, it goes to $1. This guy's going to have 10 grand. It's going to change his life, because it's not the money. It's not making the 10 grand. It's not making 10x. That's not the point. The point is that opens up the possibilities. All of a sudden it says, shit, I'm going to become a productive citizen, day trading penny stocks. Next thing you know, the guy's running a $5 billion hedge fund. This is how we change lives here with the TenBagger Blueprint. So do yourself a favor, buy yourself 100 copies. Instead of giving charity, some organizations, you don't know, these guys are probably sticking the money in their pocket. You buy yourself 100 copies of TenBagger Blueprint, give it out to the homeless people on the street, and that'll turn them into productive citizens. Maybe they're not going to read it, right? Maybe they'll just resell it. Maybe they'll sell it for drugs. It doesn't matter. It's not your problem. You've done your part. Let them sell. At least they're becoming productive. They're turning to commerce. Instead of sitting asking for a handout, they're going to be selling a product that other people can use. So there you go. Nova Mentis. Anyway, bottom line is, how we closing today? Yeah, amazing. What an amazing day today. All right, this wraps up for me, guys. See you on our next live stream. And don't forget, TenBagger Blueprint.